There was no red card I missed.
Nope, there was a yellow card like a few minutes before it said they had a red card, but I was
Yeah,
staring intently because I didn't want to miss the actual play.
I know, Sam.
Okay, so we are live. I'm going to pull up the stream so that I can answer questions in case people want to comment. But let's just start. We've got this game, and we did not expect the team. We did not expect the lineup that we got. So, pardon me, sorry, turning the volume down. Let's start talking about that. Let's talk about Colorado Rapids 1 versus St. Louis City SC 2. Matt, go.
That's what it is. I did personally a lot of research on who we're facing with Rapids 2. Rapids 2 themselves are supposed to be a bottom barrel team in MLS Next Pro. That's who we thought we were going to play with, maybe a few MLSers, because it is in the middle of the international break that MLS is observing. I think one of the 2 international breaks they observe all year. And I guess credit to them. The Rapids are taking advantage of the opportunity to get their guys some minutes in what they probably thought was a tune-up game. But, as I tweeted, suck it Kroenke and his first team, because we're at halftime beating the Rapids first team 1-0.
Love it. Stuart, do you want to comment on this? Because I have some feelings about it. I don't want to steal your thunder.
I can't say too much because honestly, in the second half of this year, in July 1st on, it's gonna be. Hopefully, we'll see some guys playing from the Bundesliga. So we'll be on the other end of this experience. But it does chafe a little bit. Yeah, I mean they're starting their first team 11 against us. I thought maybe 2 or 3 guys, maybe 4, give them 45, 60 minutes, but not 11.
Well, because we're going against precedents too, right? We're thinking similar to what we saw from maybe Tacoma or Minnesota, where they're wanting to get minutes for their guys who haven't played. And so they'll send a few down here and there, 4 or 5 maybe. But this may be the only time we see it all year, an entire MLS roster playing in this league.
Yeah, this reminds me of remember Tacoma 2 years ago against Sacramento during an international break. They sent down Will Bruin and a few other Sounders guys started, and Tacoma was awful that year. And they beat a really good Sacramento Republic team 2-1 off of 5 MLS guys playing in that game. And it really, really actually ended up screwing the Republic in the playoff picture at the end of the year, which sucked for them. But at least I guess USL doesn't have to deal with this anymore.
Matt Hatchhider joined us in the chat on Facebook, and he said he's bringing out the Arsenal starters in the second half, which I like that thought. Might as well, right? It might as well.
An American tour either now or coming up, so they're probably available.
And I'll slip my one thought. Someone else joined us, Santiago. We're gonna get to you in just a second, but before we do, one of my main thoughts on this one is that yes, this is legal. This is absolutely legal, and I love, Stuart, that you brought up that we're going to be a little hypocritical if we complain too much about this, because we're about to have some ringers, right? I think the situation is different, but we'll get to that. But I noticed that Austin FC is playing Pachuca this week, right? Have some creativity, put some work in, schedule a friendly with a Liga MX team or some cool, interesting team. Maybe bring some Arsenal players over and have a friendly. Instead of putting your whole first team down to this 2 team is such bullshit. That said, Santiago, welcome to the chat. I wasn't sure if you were going to make it. How are you feeling, man? Are you tired? You got that jet lag going?
Yeah, I'm tired, but I couldn't miss the podcast. So
it's dedication. Good to see you, Santi.
Yeah, good to see you guys too. But no, I think you guys are looking at this the wrong way. Both City 2 and Colorado Rapids 2 are resting some of their main guys. That's what's going on.
You're right. Yeah, they've got those ringers in Rapids 2, those young players that they don't want to embarrass us, so they're resting them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because they have 3 games in 9 days, so they say, well, let's rest some of our key players this week. That's what they did.
They're
This is a
key
good take.
players.
I like it.
I mean, it really is the perfect storm against us, right? It's MLS international break, so those guys need action. It's a midweek match that was rescheduled from the beginning of April. So Rapids 2 shouldn't even have played this if you go by the original schedule. So, and if you remember, personally, I was supposed to be at that Rapids 2 game in early April. And
Full
because
circle.
they rescheduled it, I couldn't go. So now I mentioned this at the time, I'm even more curious why we rescheduled that match, because if we hadn't rescheduled, this whole thing wouldn't be happening.
Wow, man, it's like everything's coming together. It's like it was meant to happen. It's like I think Kroenke sent some money over to the league to make sure this happened. That's what the conspiracy is in my world.
He booked up every venue so that his own team couldn't play, so that he could orchestrate this.
This is surely the answer.
Surely he knows enough about soccer and pays attention enough to.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think my other thoughts are that, this isn't illegal, but this also isn't how a two team is meant to be used. Like, I had a feeling this would happen at some point to some extent. I did not expect this. I mean, we're playing against Jussi Zardes, who, up until recently was a USMNT national team striker. I mean, ridiculous. Barrios, like, really veteran players. Rosenberry, like, Yarborough in goal, like, just ridiculous players. And let's talk about the game, though, because that is the good side of this, right? Is that we're up 1-0 right now against these players. And it hasn't been beautiful, but we're up 1-0. And I think we should all be extremely happy about that, right? Stu, why don't you lead us off on that?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was a gorgeous half, but it was. I mean, the field also looks. It's hard to tell from the stream, but the field doesn't look the best either. But I mean, no. Anytime you're up against a team that should be your favorite, it's great. I mean, we absorb the pressure. We're doing what we did with Houston Dynamo 2 last week, where no one out there looks outmatched. No one looks scared. I like Yarrow and Hebert, how they're controlling. Zardes and Barrios are really good players. I mean, I'm thrilled with the result. I'm just annoyed with Rapids 2 starting first teamers, but.
Santiago, let's get your thoughts on the game so far, and then Matt, we're gonna get. I know you've been taking notes, so I want you to kind of fill in the gaps that might be left over after that.
Yeah, so obviously it hasn't been pretty, but CD2 is up 1-0 and has been able to control what Colorado is doing. There was a period about 10 minutes where Colorado had like 3 or 4 chances and was really going for that goal. But I like what I'm seeing. It's a good test for this young team playing against MLS competition. I think it was Stuart who put a tweet about watching Open Cup, so CD2 could compete against an MLS team, and this is kind of it. So I like it so far, and the older this game gets, better the chances that CD2 will pull the results. So I like it so far.
Yeah, you got to imagine that most of these MLS guys have minute counts on their action tonight. I mean, by 60, they're not going to put Zardes out there for 90 minutes on a.
Right.
I mean,
you wouldn't think, but at the same time, when's the next time he's going to see meaningful game action? Week and a half?
Whenever Colorado Rapids 2 plays again.
Yeah, are they playing at home again next time? Because he could start again next time. I mean,
there it is.
I love it. Santiago, you're on a roll tonight, man. You should come in sleepy every single time. All right, Matt. Let's get to your notes because a lot has happened in this game. Not least of which is Akil Watts scoring a bit of a a beautiful sniper shot, beautiful banger there.
Yeah, Akil's shot was something else. I wrote down. MLS Next Pro has the video on their Twitter account. They've got the replay of the goal, the highlight. But just the way that kind of happened was very City 2. It was very kind of like everything was just happening all at once. We're just putting the pressure on. The ball is kind of bouncing around up front, and then all of a sudden it finds its way on the ground, comes back a little bit outside the box, and Akil just seemed to kind of come out of nowhere, straight from his defensive mid position, and just streaking up midfield and just banged it in from right outside the box. It to me, it kind of caught them by surprise, but it still played to our pressing manner. And that to me was almost illustrative of the entire half, where to me, we didn't necessarily get outside of ourselves. We're not trying to do more than our game plan calls for. We're sticking to our strategy, it seems. I'm seeing a lot of typical things that City 2 usually does. We're still using a 4-man backfield where Kwame on the left side is pushing up pretty high regularly. And so they're kind of doing that shift where Hebert is finding himself more often than not on the far left side. DeRosa and Yaro are covering. That seems pretty typical. Sometimes we're trying to play the ball through Akil here and there, where we're trying to possess the ball a little bit more than we would normally, just because it seemed like if we're sending the ball, if we're trying to make those passes down the sides, the Rapids are a step or two quicker than we are. And that's pretty clear too, is that they're more crisp with the ball than we are overall. We've obviously had our moments, but if you look at the big picture, I just felt that they're a little more crisper with their passes, and they're a step or two ahead of us in the 1v1s. So we tried to play the ball through Akil a couple times in the middle, but ultimately, whether it's Creek or Yaro, we do send the ball just as we have been. So things just seem to be more or less a typical City 2 match from a lot of perspectives. And it's clear that we're playing competition that is much higher cumulatively and collectively than we're used to. But if you look at the stats, it's not too much different than we're used to playing. Our possession is just a hair below 40%, which isn't abnormal for us. We don't typically possess the ball a ton. Our shots on goal are 7 shots to 2 on goal. The difference is we're receiving a lot more pressure on net than we're used to. So they're getting shots off. They're getting into our initial third and their final third, and they're putting more pressure than we're used to. So from that perspective, I'm a little concerned to what Santi was saying of the longer it goes, the better it is for City 2. I think unless we see significant subs at halftime, then the longer this goes on, the better it is for Colorado, because they're used to playing maybe a lesser style of play, not as high of a press, not as physically demanding. And so as we tire out, which we have shown to tire out in the second half later on, if they don't sub out and get some of their actual Next Pro players, or I don't even know who's on their bench, but if they don't sub out some of these stars, I'm concerned that unless we really hit the nail on the head with our subs, that we're going to be in a world of hurt in about the 55th, 60th minute.
Or later, for sure. Yeah, I could see that.
Or later, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I want to highlight a couple nice things that I wanted to point out, and then I want to kind of ask you guys some questions. But one thing I've noticed is I think Creek's having a good game. I think he's showing his reaction saves are like his strength, right? So that's been really nice to see. But more so, I think Akil Watts is a player that we maybe perhaps don't give enough credit to. Is like he will just come out and score a clutch goal or a good pass. Like, he's a really clutch player. He performs his role perfectly in defense and in pressing. And I feel like he's one of our most creative players. Wherever he is on the field, he's responsible. But, anytime he's on the ball, you zoom out and you think, okay, he's got that pass, and that pass in a half second. You kind of evaluate where they're going to go. And he, more than anyone else on the team, will send the ball somewhere I don't expect, right? And so a lot of times that's kind of a ball in the air and behind. I like to see him doing that kind of thing a lot. But other players will do the classic moves, but really technically, and that works too. There's nothing against that. But Akil seems to be a more creative player. I don't know what you guys thought about that, or if you want to talk about, I think they're pressing really nicely as well against this team.
Akil's vision is something else. And when you were talking about, he has 3 or 4 different places he could send the ball. and he always picks somewhere you don't think, or he finds an open guy. That's why I feel we kept playing the ball through to him. And if there's going to be that, number 6 that we kind of try to play the ball through, he seems to be that person almost by default, where he has that ability to find the open man or to make a run himself and to just be in the right spot at the right time, which that goal just went to show.
Yeah.
And we've kicked off again in the second half.
We have,
at least
yes.
the stream has.
And I've got,
I don't know what minute you guys are in. I'm at 45, 48 now.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
And if you're watching this stream, I did turn the game on. I'm kind of curious what's going to happen here, if we get in trouble or if we don't. But I've got the game on, so we're going to talk about things, but we'll mention the game if something interesting pops up from here.
We have 3 subs for Rapids 2.
Thank you.
Yapi for Zardes, Mesquita for Rosenberry, and Lewis for Acosta.
Man, Acosta was in too? I missed that.
Oh, their entire first team was in.
God.
So Yapi.
Yeah.
So Yapi is a next proer who's also on the MLS roster. He has 3 goals on the season. So they're clearly swapping. Maybe, Stu's probably right. I think you were saying he might be on a minute count. So Zardes is out. Yapi's in, who is their normal next pro leading goal scorer. Mesquita is another next proer with he's on another supplemental slot, 21 to 24. And then I think Lewis is on their MLS side. I think he's another actual MLS player, because I don't see him on their next pro roster.
Absolutely crazy.
So it's not like we took a massive step down we did take steps down. Oh, they just added a 4th sub, Anderson for Abubakar. Abubakar?
Abubakar. Yeah, he's very good.
Abubakar.
One of their best center backs.
Yes.
And who in the first on the outside.
In the first half, Josh Doling beat in a foot race. I had that noted.
So
27th minute over on the left side, Doling straight up beat him.
I think now again, this is something. Barrios is one of those guys where you can't take a snippet and expect that to be the answer for the whole game. He's kind of a whole 90 kind of guy. But Hubert has been really good with Barrios, who keeps going wide, and Hubert definitely blocked him on a shot, on a run. And I think he thought he was going to be able to push through Hubert, and he did not back down. And knocked Barrios down, and that was the end of the play. It was really nice. Did something crazy just happen, Matt?
We had a chance on the right-hand side created, but it was blocked by their keeper. I didn't see who was streaking down the middle.
You made a face. I was scared it was a penalty or something like that. But
no, we're pressing into their final third pretty well this half so far. We're about 4 minutes in.
So I don't know what you guys think about the press. I think the press has been good as always, and I think it is somewhat of an equalizer when someone does a pressing system. It doesn't matter what level it is. I think the press will affect players to some extent evenly throughout, no matter what level you're playing. And so I think we've seen that to some extent, but I did notice that Colorado, who probably plays Red Bull Senior, obviously from time to time, and other pressing teams in MLS on a high level, so they noticeably are more comfortable with the pressure. They're willing to let us get close before they give the ball to someone else, and the passing is crisp despite the pressure. But it doesn't mean the pressure hasn't been effective. What have you guys thought about that, Santiago? Maybe you could comment on what you've seen from the team in this game so far.
Yeah, obviously Colorado handles that pressure better, but St. Louis has been able to keep the ball for some periods of the game. This second half started really well, keeping the ball in Colorado's half. But yeah, obviously they have more experienced players that have played against teams that applies that kind of pressure. So I still think it's a good test for the CD2 guys, play against higher competition and really see what some of these guys could do if they were given an opportunity on the first team next year.
Rapids have been pressing too, and I think our guys have now their press isn't rabid. You know what I mean? It's not crazy, but they've gotten a turnover or two, but no more or less than us in that regard. Stuart, do you have any more thoughts about this game before we kind of start talking about normal podcasty things?
No, I'm just pleased. I mean, ask me in 40 minutes or 37 minutes because the stream is slower and terrible. But no, it's been. I mean, how can you be too upset with a 1-0 lead after 50 minutes? I mean, against a team that should far outpace you. But
Absolutely.
Totally agree.
Hebert just made someone a fool right there. I love that. Was that Yappy?
Him or Barrios, probably.
Yeah, it was 50-44, but I don't know where everyone's stream is at. I assume everyone has a slightly different stream number.
Yeah.
Uh,
Matt, any more thoughts from you before we move on?
Overall, I echo those same thoughts that our team's been playing extremely well against that level of competition in the first half, and seeing the amount of subs that they made, and now at least in the first 6 or 7 minutes of the second half, the amount of pressure that we're now putting on them is very heartening. I also think some guys were challenged appropriately. So Carson Gibbs in particular, I thought was a little shaky in the first half, but I'm glad that he was challenged in the way he was with this competition. I think playing this level will only make you better. And so for him to be able to play out against the Rapids first team was an incredible opportunity. So there's really not anything about our team bad that I could possibly say. And now that we're seeing this in the second half, I have a lot of hope and faith in us closing this one out.
I do too. Some things that the announcer has said are that Rapids2 is one of the youngest in the league. They're 9th. 10, 1, and 8, it looks like. Yes. Nope. Sorry. I apologize. 1, 8, and 1. Win-loss ties.
Well, they have 5 homegrown players and 2 U22s on their next pro roster from MLS. So, I mean, if you're having 5 homegrown players and 2 U22s, I can definitely believe that.
We also have the least amount of goals scored in the Western Conference, I believe he said, and we're one of the best defensive teams. And I think both of those things kind of check out, in my opinion. But those were some nice details that I think I heard from the announcer in this one. Which I think
and those were
a fine job.
Those were some of the stats that I was going to bring to the table to see how they lined up, but since the Rapids 2 team themselves didn't actually show up, it didn't really seem to matter. But the Rapids 2 team.
Did we lose Matt?
Yeah, I think we lost Matt. Sorry about that,
differential
Matt.
in the entire.
Oh, Matt, we lost you there. I know it sounded like you were saying how much time you put into getting stats and things for this 2 side, and then they didn't show up. If you want to repeat what you said.
Oh yeah, the stats show that Rapids 2 team have the worst goal differential in the league, most goals conceded. They're third to last in all attacking. So I think just the fact that we came out against the Rapids 1 team the way we did, this could have been so much more for us. And I think it speaks to what we could see if they sub in more defensive players. We could see even more of an attacking-minded system for us.
Interesting. I like that. So let's talk about Houston Dynamo 2. That happened this last weekend, and it was a 2-0 win for the good side. And Houston Dynamo 2 was previously first in the West, if not second in the West. I think North Texas was starting to challenge for that. And we handled them pretty well, right? Matt, do you want to lead us off on some of the things you saw in that game? Oh, nope, we lost Matt again. I apologize. Santiago, did you get that game? You were out of town. Not sure if you saw it. Maybe
No,
you should go to Stuart.
No, I didn't. I
Sorry
didn't
about
see a
that.
game. I tried to look for the replay, but I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah, there was no replay. Stuart, were you able to catch that one?
Yeah, no, I was staying next to Matt and Michelle for.
The picture.
Yeah, Matt Baker had his birthday on Sunday, so that was exciting. But more exciting than that, and it looks like Matt dropped off for a second,
I think he's
was
back.
how Houston lost to St. Louis City. And Muji Marana is a former our slew guy, and he was playing for Houston. He was number 6, I think, on their back line. But no, just the way that City played was great, and it wasn't the immediate energetic high press that they've shown in other games. They absorbed the Dynamo 2 pressure and hit them hard when they had the chances. And I was actually really impressed by the left back of Dynamo 2, Miller, number 23. I thought he was pretty dynamic. And seeing him battle with Juan Kuzain on the right was pretty fun most of the night. But Matt, it looks like you're back.
He seemed to shut down Juan a little bit too. I didn't think Juan had as many chances as he had previously, and the one chance he did have, I think, was a little kind of missed shot, and I think that spoke just to how well defended he was, not anything to do with Juan himself. And the
communication between Hebert and Yaro was really cool to see. With I don't know the name of the striker for Dynamo 2, number 17, but how they covered each other and moved, and Hebert moved up and covered, and it was just really cool to see how, because he was dangerous in the first few minutes, and then they made adjustments, communicated, and shut him down for the game.
I think that was absolutely proven when we saw that really rotated team. Was it against Minnesota? And we saw Volmar teamed up with Yaro, and we just saw lots of miscommunication looking, or like expecting someone to do something and it not happening, and a lot of holes in that way. And so I think at that point we saw how good Yaro and Hebert are together. So I think that backs that up, Stuart. I think I just missed something. What just happened, Matt?
They just scored a banger, 58th
Oh,
minute.
shoot.
Even
what happened? Explain it or describe it. Santiago, did you see it too?
I missed. I just saw that it went in.
I didn't see the
looking.
There's no replay. It's ridiculous. I think this is a good time to go off on the stream and everything else tonight. I think we got to do it. And I'm going to lead us off because we've been quiet. I've been waiting for it to maybe improve. I'm giving them a bit of leeway because obviously this league was a little bit rushed, and the goal is not to have a good product. The goal is just to give MLS teams a cheap place to play their kids, right? Is what it feels like. And I think it's proven in these streams. They're absolutely terrible. The picture was purple and pink for the first 20, 30 minutes today. They just scored a goal. Beautiful movement in the box. I did not see who it was, but it was a build-up from the back, and it was 1 and 2 touch passes.
That was
Did we see who scored the goal and who got the assist?
That was Kuzain.
Okay. Kuzain with the goal. It was a left-footed shot to the far post, slid in bottom right corner, skidding, daisy cutter, as they say. Really great shot and good movement, good quick movement. That it beat all these Colorado players, a lot of them senior players. That was a really good goal. But the stream, I mean, just terrible. The play-by-play guy cutting in and out the whole time, getting that digital distortion. Terrible. No goal replays. So we can't track down who did this until we get the highlights or someone tweets it. MLS Next Pro doesn't tweet it. We have to wait on the teams to do it. Luckily, our comms are pretty good about it.
Houston Dynamo 2 didn't even have they had an active Twitter account, but it didn't tweet out any information. Like that's a bare minimum for a league, is that you tweet out lineups for a match. That's just honestly embarrassing by MLS. They don't require that. I mean, come on.
I agree. It's unacceptable. There's clearly just like there's no standards. Like no one has made a list of expectations of what they think a stream should look like, what teams should do when there's a game night. Even like leading up to the game would be nice, but not even game time tweets about what's happening, about the lineup. Just ridiculous. Just no one's caring about this league. And maybe we're the weird ones. Maybe it's weird that we care so much, because this is our first team for this season. But no matter what, if they're trying to get some kind of a TV deal done in the near future, and this is supposed to be part of that package, they're not doing themselves any favors. You know, they're not running a good business in that way if that's the goal for this year. And maybe I'm wrong. Don't you guys think that that's something they would be caring about this year? Maybe they don't.
Yeah, I think to some extent, if they want to include this, like in the new TV deal, they will make a bigger effort to show a good product. But maybe this is a sign that they don't really care about it much. And since it is a development league, I guess this quality is fine for that. What will be interesting, you were saying that, like maybe we are the outlier and we care a lot about this league, but it'll be interesting to see what happens next year when we have the first team also playing.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that TV deal that we were just talking about, and whether this matters, whether it improves next year. We'll be watching it because we're nerdy, right? Matt, do you have any thoughts about the stream? I said my piece. I think I'm good.
I think the TV deal kind of be a game changer. But I don't think I think it'll be a game changer in the sense that we won't have to watch it online. I think we'll be able to watch it wherever, the MLS deal is, whether it's ESPN Plus or something. But I don't think the quality is going to improve drastically. I don't think they're going to pump the money necessary to get the infrastructure in place at each stadium, because the camera angles are one of the biggest problems. And, the conspiracy theory is that the replays aren't available to show off a shitty product. Kind of carved up and made fun of.
Don't you think that if
and I don't see that drastically changing with the amount of they'll put enough money into that, because I don't think the value they're going to get in the overall deal will be that they're hoping. I think it'll be significantly higher than the $90 million a year they're getting now, but I don't think it'll be astronomical to where they'll say, okay, we can now pump this new the standards that USL Championship have.
But as far as the comms, like, it doesn't actually cost them more money to tweet about the game. You know what I mean? To tell their clubs that it's a rule that they have to do a certain amount of bare minimum tweets for the game. Unbelievable. That should have been a goal. I think someone slipped in Doling for a shot.
No,
position.
How did he miss that?
Wide open shot.
You chip that one or chip it over.
Yeah. He knows. He looks hurt. Yep. He's bending over on his knees. He's hurting, and he knows he should have scored that one. Could be 3-1, guys. It could also be like 3-3. So to be fair, the defense has his back on this one. And so does the crossbar.
Right. Phil, talking about the comms and the tweets and actually pumping up their own product, I do think that it goes to the engagement that Santi was talking. I think it was Santi was talking about how many people actually pay attention to each club and whether the juice is worth the squeeze. For City right now, their 2 team has the main account, and so they're going to act like it's the team, because right now it is. But Dynamo 2, Minnesota United 2, they have 2 team accounts. I know a few don't, and they don't seem to care to. But I don't know if that much is going to change for it. Oh, another header on target.
Yeah, I think that was it was Hebert with the header on target, but didn't have enough oomph behind it. Well done corner, though. He was open.
Very well done corner.
Open header. Any other thoughts on Houston Dynamo 2, Matt? I think we lost you before you could kind of say your piece on that.
I almost didn't come back because while I was gone, Kuzain scored that goal. So I just figured let's just ride this, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Well, so did you see who assisted it or how it was built up? I know it built from the back for the most part, but
I got the alert on the club's Twitter account going back to our previous statement while I was resetting my internet.
Yeah, that
I'll be
sounds
interested in
right.
seeing the highlight. The highlights, I'll continue to tout their highlights. Like they do a good
Yeah.
job of highlights, and that's how I'm partially able to piece together the things from my memory when we're at these games is, oh yeah, I remember the build up to the play, and they show a little bit of the build up, which allows you to understand kind of the flow and the sequence.
Mhm.
So Dynamo Dose, which I understand they're known as now.
Oh.
I think Stu said it best earlier, where it kind of started where we didn't have our usual high press. I felt the first 20 minutes of that game against Houston was just feeling each other out. Kind of, I mentioned to Stu during the game that it seemed like the entire first 20 was played box to box, nobody any threats, and then it opened up. Dynamo had the first kind of attack around like 26th minute. And that's where Ian McGrain to me really shone. And that reinforced that McGrain is our number one keeper. I had the thought going into the Dynamo, cemented it for me that he had a few key plays, and that was two massive saves, one right after the other. And then luckily we were able to answer. This is awkward because I'm talking about a previous game while watching us being attacked
It is
in
weird.
this game. But no, the Diaz goal 28 minutes in, right after that, we punched them back much harder. It was an amazing sequence by Ezra to get him that ball. So Ezra, who hadn't played much the previous two games, and it was interesting to me because Hackworth comments, I think, to Tom Timmerman after the game that almost seemed like it was something, whether it was performance in practice or he just didn't seem to have the energy. Maybe he was coming off of his injury from a few weeks prior, but there was something about his play that it didn't seem to be like a behavioral thing or like a code of conduct thing, but he didn't play much the past two games before Dynamo Dose because it seemed like something in practice. And so it was good to see him back out there, and he was flying all over the field. He was instrumental in that goal, and to see him back into his left back, almost left wing back form. And then Celio Pompeu again in the 55th minute after Akil caught an intercepted ball. He just straight up dribbled past a few defenders and had that left-footed strike in the middle of the box. I think Celio and Diaz to me are easily top 5 in overall performance this year, and they seem to be heating up. And I'm hopeful to see them. I think we're going to preview the Fire 2 matchup, but I'm really hopeful to see those two back and in form against the Fire 2 next Saturday.
I keep thinking one of those three will heat up and they will be our main goal scorer. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be pretty even and they're all going to be dangerous. The three I think of is Pompeu, Doling, and Diaz. Kuzain, I mean, he'll have flashes as well. But I always think one's going to like outscore the others. And I think it's going to be just this thing where they're all dangerous all the time. And something's going to give at some point, and any one of those guys could score on any given day. So, I thought maybe one would shine, but it seems pretty even. And maybe the system is to blame for that. I say to blame, but it's a good thing. Who knows?
It gives us pressure on all sides of the pitch. That's what matters to me. Is Celio finds Diaz seems to be falling into that number 10 role, or at least that attacking mid. It's interesting. I'm cutting out again.
Yeah, you are, but you're back, I think.
Yeah, I want to see more Juan Kuzain. I'll say that before I cut out again. And I want to see him more in form and a part of our offense, whether it's scoring goals or assisting, maybe a cutting Doling or something like that. I just want to see more Juan.
Have we had any subs on our side in this game?
Yeah, we brought in Pompeu, Martins, and Max Schneider.
They came in at half, it looks like.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Who did Martins come in for? Was it the kid?
So Schneider came in for Rivas, Pompeu came in for Gibbs, and Armstrong came in for AJ Palzola.
Oh, I didn't see Armstrong. Armstrong was on the official. He wasn't on the website, MLS Next website.
He is now. They did the
Oh.
same thing with Colorado's 4th sub. They didn't add him right away.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That makes sense. I'm going to pull that up so we can kind of keep track of things here. But while I do that, let's talk about Nilsson. We now have a center back, a Swedish national team player, left-footed, played previously
Opportunity for Colorado.
Either saved or I saw it pop out of the box into a center back and now cleared. And now one of our players is streaking forward. But again, Nilsson is now a member of St. Louis City SC and loaned down, if I'm not mistaken, to St. Louis City SC2 officially. We saw it on FOTMob, so it must be true. And, this has been rumored for a long time. It was pretty much nailed down by Manuel Vaith the other week. And now it's finally official. And it feels really good to say that this guy is on our team, that he's been locked down for multiple years. Matt, I'm sure I've missed some details here. If you're back, do you want to fill us in? Nope. Instead, Santiago, would you like to talk about Nilsson and it being official at this point?
Yeah, so finally official after so many rumors, and obviously, like Lutz in different interviews had hinted that he was coming, but obviously we were just waiting for the official announcement, which obviously I was out of town, but I had kind of forgotten about it, and I saw the alert. I was like, oh, okay, it's finally happening. But obviously, everybody knew it was going to happen. So yeah, now that it is official, it'll be interesting to see what the next move is. There have been talks about a defensive midfielder, which will kind of complete like that base, that spine for the team. So we'll see what Lutz and team have in store for us.
There was a funny tweet that was put out in German that seemed to allude that there's a player that will be signed on the way and his name starts with a K. And I think we've found out since then, I think it's fair to say that was just a joke, that the player may or may not be a player with a name that starts with a K and may not even have a player signed at this point, or even on the way to being signed, that was just a bit of a joke. And I will just say that I think Lutz and the club are underestimating our level of dedication to this club and how much we nerd out and how much we care about, how much we just hold on to every little word, every little clue that comes out about this team, and how much we wake up at night and think about these kind of things rather than sleeping and resting for our next day of work. These are the things that we think about and care about. And so you can't just willy-nilly put out a tweet saying that we're going to sign some player with the name of K, because then we're going to go through the encyclopedia of players around the entire world. This is a world sport, Lutz.
I think he knows. I think he knows. I think he knows. He loves it, and he gets a kick out of it. Just how passionate we are, and how much we want to deep dive into a random joke that he lays out there. I think he got the biggest kick out of all.
And I don't think that's unusual either for Lutz. I mean, he's coming from Dusseldorf.
We were spending.
Oh, you're cutting in and out, Matt.
Keep going, Stu. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, coming from Bundesliga, those fans are dedicated to. They're picking up on everything. But yeah, no, Matt, Santi, you, Phil, and I, we all have Google alerts set up for various words. We're reading those emails every day and checking the tweets. So filtering through the tea leaves. I mean, Matt, you were the one who caught the K tweet, but I think a few of us saw the central defending midfielder tweet that Lutz put out in his article with Tom Timmerman, which, I think is true. So the information of, I still like some of those guys who are, number sixes who are also start with K. So maybe Loot Signs is one of those guys and throws us all for a loop.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Juan.
Still looking good. I mean, it's still going both ways. Rapids perhaps have the better chances, but we're holding out. We're dangerous in every counterattack. Every moment is a possible goal, despite the flow of the game. Oh yeah, before we move on, Matt, did you want to say anything else about Nilsson or about the rumored player, whether he is or isn't rumored?
Wow, my internet doesn't like the streaming the game and the pod at the same time, clearly. No, I just noted that, we signed him to a 4.5-year deal. He's going to be with us until the World Cup in the US. The half a year, obviously, with City 2. He's 20. He'll be 29 by the time we start playing MLS. So you can, just calculate the years. Current Swedish international. He's playing right now in the UEFA Nations League. There's just a lot of exciting things for him. And, as long as my internet doesn't cut out here, I had a couple quotes from Lutz, one saying he's a natural leader, possesses all the attributes to be successful in any league, assertive in 1v1 duels, good in the air, great at building out from the back. They're confident that all of his experience and physical attributes will make him one of the best defenders in MLS. And then Nilsson himself had a quote. After his first meeting with Lutz and Bradley, he was convinced that City SC was the right destination to further his career. He was impressed by their plan and vision for the long-term future of the club and how they see him as an important part of the team exciting sporting project. And he can't wait to call St. Louis the home for his family and to get to see the passionate soccer fans here.
Love it. We're such a good move to get a guy like this. I'm really excited about it. The 4.5 years, especially, Matt, I knew that was a fact you were going to throw out for us because I forgot the exact number. And the fact that we nailed him down for 4.5 years is amazing. And who knows if he'll be with us for 4.5 years. There's a good chance someone will want him before that time is up, and maybe we can make some money on that. Who knows? He's got the quality for it.
The thing is, if he wants to continue on Sweden's roster for the next World Cup, this carries him through to that. So, I mean, be thinking not just about, can we sell him on? Is that going to be something he wants to do? But the level of competition that he's going to see in MLS could be where he makes his case for Sweden's World Cup roster in 26.
Yeah. And on that, MLS, the fact that MLS has some players that are playing for national teams right now, I think, is it Buksas is a Polish striker that plays for New England.
He just transferred.
He just got transferred. Yeah,
played for New England.
He went to RC Lund.
But I know that's amazing, right? So this is that kind of a move possibility, in the future. Who knows? But this is the fact that Buksas was a starter for Poland in their last game that I checked the lineup for, because I was actually checking to see if Swiderski, I think that's his name, the guy that plays for Charlotte, if he was starting for Poland, but he was on the bench for that game, and I think he came in later. So these are two MLS players starting for a European decent caliber team. I think they're in the A or the B league for Nations League. And, these are quality players. And we're looking at what Ferreira is doing for the national team in the United States. And some people think he doesn't belong there. Well, he's a DP player in MLS. So if Swiderski is in that league on that level, and if Buksas is on that level in our league, MLS must have something decent going on that these guys can stay at a good enough level to play with their national teams and start in some really high competition. That was just something I noticed this week. When it comes
I think it
to
speaks to, I do think it speaks to the national team coaches throughout the world are showing more respect for MLS. Yep. And it's not just that, us as fans are hoping and seeing and thinking the competition is there, but the more opportunities these guys get to start and to have meaningful minutes for big time countries, just the more it's going to swell and grow. And I think it's great for MLS. It's great for players we can bring here, and it's great for soccer in America, to be quite honest.
Agree. Some updates. 76th minute, Colorado had a cross or just a long ball in from the back right side. I think the right back sent it in, and a header was sent in, and Sands had an incredible reaction save to stop that. And going the other way, we just got a shot off. I don't know if anyone saw that about the 79th minute. It was saved by the Rapids keeper by Yarborough. If anyone saw that, maybe you can describe that. But we've got another big topic for tonight before we go. So that topic is, since no one is talking about the game, Stuart, we got to start with you on this one. The new soccer bar, the pitch going into Union Station. Let's talk about it. Coincides, by coincidence or not, with not long ago the announcement that the Amsterdam will not be continuing to exist in the foregoing future.
Whoa.
Oh,
The
the
dam
dam.
next door.
Right.
Oh,
Dam
no,
that
no,
serves food
no,
next
no. See, my plan was to read both those articles, and my family went out to eat instead, and I had no choice in this
You
matter.
didn't go out to eat to the dam, though, I bet.
Thank God. The Amsterdam's not closing.
No.
Freaking A, that scared the hell out of me. What is the dam? I thought the dam was the Amsterdam.
No.
So
Fairly
the
common misconception,
Amsterdam,
to be fair.
yeah. So the owners of
I'm
the
okay with
Amsterdam
embarrassing myself.
owners of the Amsterdam own the buildings that Tracy Keys and the dam are in, and the dam took its name specifically because it was next to the Amsterdam. But other than leasing the space from the Amsterdam, they didn't actually have a connection. So the dam is closed now, and I think they're going to open up somewhere else. But the Amsterdam is still open and doing well, and probably looking at
Good.
expanding further in the future.
I've been really depressed, guys.
So all this time you
It's
I'm
okay,
thought
glad I'm
Phil.
wrong.
Amsterdam
okay,
had
Phil.
closed?
I did. I didn't know there was a
Wow.
difference between the dam and the Amsterdam. I didn't. I thought everyone was just calling the Amsterdam the dam.
Man, to be fair, I couldn't imagine walking around, and I would definitely have not been on Twitter having the conversations I've been having if I thought Amsterdam was closing.
My God. Thank God. I didn't know why they were. That was the main reason I was going to read the article, is like, why would they close? It can't be because they're not getting enough business. It can't be.
No, and in fact, the pitch article that STL Mag had was having quotes from the owners of Union Station who are operating.
Oh, shoot. We lost him again. I just want to apologize, guys. I should be up on that kind of thing.
Who
It's been a
operate
hard
like,
week for me. I'm sorry if I've embarrassed y'all. Matt, we lost you there. Are you back?
I'm still red, so can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The article had quotes from the pitch owners mentioning Amsterdam as kind of an inspiration, like basically that there's room for another soccer bar. That's their thing they look to. They know it can work. And then the usual things of with the MLS team coming in, the stadium right across the street, it makes all the sense in the world. So to me, it wasn't like they want to replicate Amsterdam. It was that they saw the success that a passionate, amazing, and dedicated soccer bar like Amsterdam has, and they think that can be successful at Union Station, which it definitely can be. And it would take a massive bungling of the entire thing for it not to be.
I don't think it would take a massive bungling, to be honest. They just have to not be reliable with and be open and give preference to fans, and they'll move on, or they'll shift back to the Amsterdam or back to Llewellyn's. I'm sure Spurs fans or Arsenal St. Louis or someone will look to shift over to this new place, but they have to fully commit. And if they don't fully commit, and even if you're losing money opening up for, 2 Wolves fans on a Saturday morning at 6:00, you have to do that. You can't just open up for Champions League matches.
No, but to me, that's the massive bungling. Is that it's a for lack of a better term, it's a layup, because that's all you have to do. I think I said this to you earlier, Stu. To me, it's all they have to do is make themselves the reliable, known place that is always open for soccer. And there have been times where I've shown up to Amsterdam at 5:00 and there's an MLS game on, but they're not showing it. So it's not like that there's constant soccer on at Amsterdam. It's just they bought into the thing that brings people in, and the pitch is going to have to know that they can't rely on the game day atmosphere for a city to drive their entire business. They need to be that place where if you're out of town or you have out of towners coming in and they want to know, and they look at Yelp and Google and they're trying to figure out where the soccer bars in St. Louis are, they need reviews from the passionate fan base that
What do you think, Stuart?
says these guys are all.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Stuart. Sorry.
Sorry, Matt, you're in the middle of your conversation. I don't want to hit a rebuttal when you're. I think you're live again. If you want to keep going.
As long as they can be always showing soccer from 6:30 a.m. to when league on.
I think his point was, sort of that Amsterdam hasn't been absolutely perfect, and as long as there's someone showing soccer, that it's going to be.
No, it's definitely good that you have more soccer places that show soccer, the better. I mean, I think it's not harsh to say that St. Louis isn't before the MLS announcement an MLS market, so the target audience for MLS games would be extremely small. There's such a small audience here in MLS previously to this.
Definitely true.
And they would put on games when you ask, but there were more Stoke fans in St. Louis than almost probably Sounders fans. And I think our disagreement is on what constitutes. They can be a bar that shows soccer with a preference, and they can be a soccer bar. Which is maybe pedantic, but I would maybe say there's like 3 or 4 hockey bars in St. Louis, even though there's 60 or 70 or 200 that show hockey. A place like Guyrin, where if you go there and the Blues are playing a regular season game and the Cardinals are playing a World Series game, Guyrin's going to play the Blues regular season game. And if you're marketing yourself as a soccer bar, that is my bar. That is my expectation. And I don't know the owners. I don't know what they're doing. But when they put the term out, those are what's connected to that term. And though I'm sure they're learning a lot I'm sure they're reading a lot of the tweets today. And they're kind of absorbing and taking note of a lot of things.
You hope they are.
I believe they are. I mean, O'Loughlin's one of the guys involved, and Bob O'Loughlin, I know he's been involved in some soccer stuff before. He was involved in the 2017 MLS STL campaign.
Yep.
So they're not coming in entirely blind on this, but they have time to open. So I think they'll come and learn, and there are also renderings, so reading into renderings is kind of a little silly, but we're all on Twitter and just wasting away, having fun. I guess.
No, I've enjoyed the conversations. I think I've seen some of the more. I've missed some of the more ridiculous ones. But anyway, Matt, what were you going to say?
Well, I think while I'm still in the green on my connection, I think it goes without saying that Amsterdam is my bar. I'm right there with Stu in every single positive thing you could ever say about them. That's where Michelle and I go on date nights when we don't have the kids. That's where we go on Saturday mornings when they've spent the night at Grandma and Grandpa's. If we can get there, that's where we go. And because they always have on, and they've got the atmosphere. We love the owners. Everything they do has been cultivated the right way. And I found it really bizarre that, and Steve Smith kind of had it. I found it really bizarre that there was so many people were so quick to attack them based on the fact that they didn't have everything said, that they were basically imitating or replicating Amsterdam. Like, they didn't immediately say, we're going to have soccer scarves all over the wall. We're going to, we guarantee we're opening at 6:30 a.m. Yeah, it would have been cool to have that like dedicated, passionate quotes, but I think that's, it's kind of like it's eating our own when we have another soccer. They say they want to do a soccer bar, and we're saying, oh, it doesn't sound like you're going to be Amsterdam, so you're not going to be a soccer bar. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, that's that's eating our own like we always do in St. Louis in one way, shape, or form. And so I just that's kind of where I was coming from when I was responding to you, Stu. And it's not like I have the highest of expectations. It's not even like I can see myself choosing that area over Amsterdam for myself on a Saturday morning when I want to go watch Arsenal or something, because I can't imagine me personally having a better atmosphere than I do at Amsterdam. But that's not to say that there aren't people who find Amsterdam way too crowded on their World Cup or their Champions League, or even a Saturday morning when Liverpool, Spurs, Manchester United are all playing. So there needs to be another place. And I think that I would like it so much more to see people excited, or maybe constructively saying, it sounds like their hearts are in the right place. I hope they do X, Y, and Z, as opposed to saying, well, this quote sounds like they're just going to be half-assing it, or they're not going to go as hardcore as Amsterdam is doing now. I don't know how it was when Amsterdam first started. If they, were dedicated, didn't have the customer base they do now when they very first started. I don't know that story, but I think it's very short-sighted and very, quite frankly, St. Louis-y to have attacked that article and the idea of this so viciously as some people did.
Santiago, maybe you can break the tie here. Although, Matt, I would say some of your comments have been very centrist in that way. And so I admire that about you. I admire that about all you guys. But Santiago, maybe you can give us some middle ground here and what you thought about the situation.
Yeah, no, I think there is room for another soccer bar, especially around those busy times like Champions League finals, World Cup, when Amsterdam gets really crowded. And even I have even been there a couple of times where you have people outside waiting for somebody to leave so they can come in. So yeah, I think there is room for another soccer bar. And I think the atmosphere, especially on game days, I think the new place will have a great opportunity, because some people will want to go downtown early and watch a Premier League game or La Liga game or something else before City 2 plays. So I think that's a good opportunity for the pitch, especially around game days. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. If, let's say, game day is on a Sunday, what will they do on Saturday? Will they open at 6 a.m. to show all the Premier League games? But yeah, I think there is room. And just thinking about, and I could be wrong because I'm not a frequent. I don't consider myself a frequent customer of Amsterdam. I kind of mainly go when Colombia plays or around the World Cup or special occasions. But I don't think they show like a lot of Liga MX games or Argentina League or things like that. And that could be an area where the pitch could get some customers that maybe they don't catch those games at Amsterdam. But yeah, I think there is room for both. And at least for the first 2-3 years where there is still the hype about MLS and more people getting into soccer, I think they will be able to coexist.
Yeah, Stuart, I want to give you the last word on this, but I'm going to kind of say a few things that I said today as well. First, I want to apologize for getting this so wrong. It's so embarrassing. So I apologize for not putting enough time into this, but my thoughts are still valid despite what I thought was happening. I love you guys' thoughts on there's never enough room in Amsterdam on a big night, right? That's a given, right? So it's really nice to have another place for that. But I think what we're seeing here is like the classic, like we're going not only from USL Championship to MLS, but our fans are too, right? We're going to have these existing hipster St. Louis fans that have been here since the beginning. And part of this MLS thing means we're going to get these like average sports fans who like soccer. And we're going to get some bro soccer fans. Oh no, I just saw it.
We haven't seen it yet. No.
95th minute. free kick outside the box, just barely outside the box. A
That
perfect
just
shot.
means we get
to the
bonus
side netting.
PKs.
Yeah,
I
we get
guess.
free soccer coming now.
But I have to reload my
Yeah, I'm
feed because
apparently-
I think I'm like a minute behind you guys somehow.
Yeah, same here. I think what you just said, Phil, is spot on to me. Is that you don't, to me also, and I'll give up the last word in a second, but you don't necessarily need more space as urgently for the hardcore as you do. You just need another space. Maybe you do need a more mainstream type place where you have a ribbon of TVs that provide gambling opportunities here in the next few years. Maybe you have the Cardinals game on or baseball game on in one corner and a few soccer games on up top. I think it provides much more flexibility than Amsterdam does, even with all the TVs that are inside Amsterdam that can target. It can support a soccer specific, dedicated soccer bar type of an atmosphere while lending itself to what we consider a more casual soccer fan, which we do need. We do need to grow that.
We need. We're not going to get a first tier soccer team, and we're not going to get more than 25,000 on a weekly basis without them. You know what I mean? We want to be bigger than 25,000 even. We got our sights set high for this team, and we're not going to do it without them. So we need it, but we've got our boutique place, right? We've got the Amsterdam, and we've got to back up to the Amsterdam. I'm happy about that. Stuart, we got to give you the last word on this though, because I understand how passionate you are. I understand how you feel like they're like coming in and taking the thunder from someone who's been working hard all these years, catering to the elite soccer fans in this city. And now we get MLS, and now someone's trying to ride their coattails. It feels like that, doesn't it?
I mean, that's not at all how I feel, to be honest.
That's how I feel.
I think I mean, I'm cynical towards whether or not they'll actually be dedicated.
You're not cynical.
I think they'll be, at worst, a good sports bar, and even with, say, like what a Ballpark Village or Maggio's next door will bring, or Schlafly, but at best they'll be an actual, replacement for Tigan. I have a high or maybe narrow definition of what constitutes a soccer bar, and that's like what an Amsterdam, a Hattrick's, a Highbury, a Brits Pub in Minneapolis, what those places bring, which is hyper focused, and that's how they've been presenting themselves so far. But they're probably not aware what constitutes what a lot of us might see as a soccer bar. They might just think, it's a place that plays, soccer and shows most games or whatever. But no, I mean, Amsterdam's going to survive. And there's so many places that can show soccer games downtown west. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming out yet. I mean, there's going to be 20,000 very thirsty fans every week there, so it's a lot of dollars. So do you guys want to start a bar?
The flyover foodie bar.
We'll just be a sad imitation at this point.
Who do we partner with to do on location shows down there?
We just need to know a guy, right? Stuart, I mean, surely you're close with the Amsterdam guy, right? At this point?
At the Amsterdam? I mean, yeah, I know Lyle, but
have Lyle get us a dedicated space. That's what we should do in if they expand into those other two areas. Have like a
right.
have like a studio on location in one of them.
I thought I was gonna say the closest place I know people is the police HQ, but I don't know if they want us hauling in recording equipment up in the police headquarters. That probably doesn't
Quite what I had in mind.
Right.
Well, guys, I think we should sign off. I think that's a good place to stop. Thank
You don't want to
guys for-
last through the PKs here?
What?
No, I don't, man. Who knows how long it's
Really?
gonna go? I want to let everyone watch it for themselves.
The last time the three of you, Stu, and I watched PKs together, it went 19 rounds.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Oh my
the
God.
power of Santi will keep this one short and sweet and get us a win.
I hope so. We deserve a win in this one, in my opinion. So let's see what Soccer Karma brings us tonight. Thank you all for joining the stream tonight, Matt, Santiago, with your jet lag. Well done, Stuart. I'm surprised you made it since the dam is closing, which is not the Amsterdam. Thank y'all for listening and putting up with my bullshit and embarrassment.
Love you, Phil.
We'll be coming back to you guys next week. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.